Our esteemed panel of expert witnesses this morning. Three of our witnesses traveled all the way from Hong Kong to provide their testimony to this Congress. The panel includes Joshua Wong, a pro-democracy activist and the Secretary General of Demosisto. At the age of 15, he organized protests against patriotic education in Hong Kong.
跟住落嚟，我哋會聽到黃之鋒，香港眾志嘅黃之鋒發言。交俾方德豪。
係，唔該晒。
Denise Ho, a pro-democracy and LGBTQ rights activist and an award-winning Hong Kong-based singer, producer, and actress. Ms. Ho is a prominent supporter of the anti-extradition bill protests in Hong Kong and a leading figure in Hong Kong's pro-democracy movement. She was arrested during the 2014 umbrella movement for taking part in nonviolent protests.
依家麥克高文主席係介紹緊另一位將會作證嘅香港歌手何韻詩，咁介紹緊佢嘅跟住就係另一位就係香港嚟自香港大專學界嘅張崑陽。
2019, HKIAD includes all student unions of universities in Hong Kong with the primary mission of raising global awareness and support for Hong Kong's anti-extradition bill protesters and the pro-democracy movement. Mr. Jung has participated in and organized exchange events and conferences in Hong Kong, Taiwan, South Korea, United States, and United Nations, and he recently gave a speech.
張崑陽係香港大專學界國際事務代表團嘅發言人，跟住介紹嘅係人權組織中國人權執行主任譚競嫦。
HRIC has covered human rights and democracy development in Hong Kong extensively, including the 2014 umbrella movement. Ms. Hom has presented in numerous hearings on a wide range of human rights issues before key European, U.S., and international policymakers. She is a professor of law emerita at the City University of New York School of Law and has taught law for 18 years, including training judges' at 8 law schools in China. Daniel Garrett,
亦都係長年跟進中國嘅人權事務啦。
Focusing on Chinese security, politics, and the securitization of Hong Kong. Since 2011, he has documented over 600 demonstrations, marches, and rallies in Hong Kong, including most recently the anti-extradition bill demonstrations. Dr. Garrett is a doctoral graduate of City University of Hong Kong with over 20 years of engagement with Hong Kong.
跟住介紹嘅就係學者 Dan Garrett 啦，佢係曾經喺香港城市大學任教啦，亦都係有長期關注香港嘅問題。
And served at the Defense Intelligence Agency, National Security Agency, and in the United States Air Force. So I want to thank you all for being here. We are honored by your presence, and we will begin with you, Mr. Wong.
好，跟住首先發言嘅係黃之鋒。
Good morning, Chairman McGovern, Co-Chairman Rubio, and members of this
高文
commission.
主席、魯比奧聯席主席、各位委員會成員早晨。能夠被邀請返嚟國會山莊討論香港嘅發展，我感到好榮幸。各位可能仲記得我上次喺2年前去過華盛頓，而且喺2017年5月3號喺同一個大樓、同一個委員會作證。當時我警告我嘅朋友羅冠聰可能被取消立法會議員資格，佢係亞洲最年輕嘅民主選舉嘅立法會議員，佢今天都喺呢個觀眾席上面嘅。我當時亦都警告過有大規模嘅政治迫害，唔好彩嘅係兩者依家都實現咗。羅冠聰喺7月失去咗席位，當年嘅7月，而我亦都因為參與雨傘運動而喺當年嘅8月被判監。2014年嘅抗議活動進一步嘅法律糾紛令到我無法出國旅行。當時我曾經話過一國兩制正在變成一國1.5制，但我認為近期發生嘅事令觀察家感到今日已經危險地邁進一國一制。目前嘅情況表明，北京完全無法理解，更加唔好話去管治一個自由社會啦。 呢場抗爭喺6月9號開始，當時有100萬香港人走上街頭抗議政府修訂逃犯條例，允許疑犯從香港引渡到中國，而中國的係冇呢個法治保障。不過當時當晚深夜，行政長官林鄭月娥宣布該呢個法案喺12號就恢復，而香港人都決定喺6月12號背水一戰作出準備。然後不可思議嘅事情發生咗，只要北京控制咗足夠嘅票數，抗爭者喺清早包圍咗立法會所在嘅政府總部，成功阻止咗立法會議員開會。當時我正在第3次服刑，有一刻我奇怪點解新聞頻道播咗雨傘運動嘅鏡頭，所以我不久之後先意識到香港人係翻嚟啦。林鄭喺6月15號暫緩咗嗰個條例，但係冇完全撤回法案。第二日200萬人歷史性咁湧上街頭，相當於整個人口嘅1/4。我唔知道香港人呢種不滿程度喺現代歷史上有邊一刻能夠比上。我喺3個月前亦都係6月17號出獄。跟住我和其他香港人一齊以最有抗議嘅方式抗爭，除咗要求撤回法案，我哋要求林鄭撤回我哋作為暴徒嘅定性，放棄所有政治檢控，而且對警察暴行進行獨立調查。我哋其中啲人喺6月下旬喺 G20 嘅國際峰會眾籌報紙廣告資金，呼籲全世界唔好忘記香港。其他人喺7月1號闖入並佔領立法會大樓，同一日又有55萬人香港人和平抗議。每個週末都繼續有大量人出現，幾乎每日都有較細嘅集會喺各區舉行，但係政府唔聽，佢冇化解政治危機，而係大加強警力。運動喺7月21號達到轉捩點，當天晚上，涉嫌同有組織犯罪有關係嘅暴徒聚集喺元朗火車站，無差別咁樣襲擊現場記者。翻屋企嘅抗議者，甚至係路人。雖然經過多次緊急嘅呼籲報警，警方仍然拒絕出現，令香港陷入無政府同埋暴徒暴力之中。正正喺8月5號香港人參加大罷工嗰日，警方就發射咗800枚催淚彈驅散人群，相比之下5年前整場雨傘運動只係發射咗87枚。今日嘅警力過度武力，顯而易見，佢哋越嚟越肆意咁使用胡椒噴霧、胡椒球、橡膠子彈、海綿彈、布袋彈同埋水炮。同樣令人不安嘅係，呢啲武器幾乎全部都係從西方民主國家進口嘅。有鑑於此，我讚賞麥克高文主席喺上週喺眾議院介紹咗保護香港法。美國公司唔能夠從熱愛香港自由嘅香港人嘅暴力鎮壓中獲利。魯比奧聯席主席最近亦都寫過，根據美國法律，香港嘅特殊地位取決於城市成為一個單獨嘅關稅區、開放嘅國際聯繫以及香港同埋美元嘅掛鈎。北京唔應該如魚紅井兩者兼得，喺消除我哋社會嘅政治身份嘅同時，收穫經由香港喺環球經濟地位不利嘅利益。呢個係香港人權與民主法得到香港公民社會廣泛支持嘅最重要原因。我希望每位國會議員都能夠注意到呢一點。林鄭終於喺本月較早時候撤回咗呢條法案，但係正如抗爭者一早已經唔再要求佢辭職一樣，呢一次決定幾乎毫無意義。呢場運動仲未結束，因為佢已經遠超過一個法案或者一個人。我哋嘅第5個亦都係最重要嘅要求係香港真正嘅結構性變革。我哋政府缺乏代表性係問題嘅核心。喺我發言嘅時候，香港正處於關鍵時候，各種風險越嚟越高。當局幾乎停止發放不反對通知書，因此每次幾乎示威都係非法集會。另外，我哋面臨嘅係中國政府喺深圳邊境嘅龐大嘅武警嘅集結。習近平主席唔太可能喺即將嚟到嘅10月國慶之前採取大膽嘅行動，但係冇人能夠確定接下來發生乜嘢嘢。派坦克入城係唔理性嘅選擇。 但係呢個唔係不可能。中國對澳門、台灣、西藏，特別係新疆嘅干涉，提醒我哋北京準備追求宏大帝國計劃走得更加遠。我曾經係香港年輕人運動嘅代言人，但係喺目前冇大台嘅運動中，同我哋中間因抗議而被炒人、受傷，甚至唔敢去醫院或者被逼自殺嘅人比，我嘅犧牲好少。兩個人已經失去咗佢哋嘅一隻眼，到目前為止被捕嘅1400人中，最年輕嘅只係得12歲。我唔認識佢哋，但係佢哋嘅痛苦係我嘅痛苦。我哋同屬同一個想像嘅社區，為自己自決權而奮鬥，因此我哋可以建立一個更加光明共同嘅未來。今日嘅嬰兒喺2047年7月1日，甚至未慶祝佢嘅28歲生日，到時香港50年不變嘅政策即將到期，嗰個限期比佢嘅表面更加接近我哋，冇回頭路。數十年後，當歷史學家回顧過去時，我確信2019年比2014年更加明顯。呢個將成為一個分水嶺。我亦希望歷史學家能夠慶祝美國國會站在人權同埋民主嘅香港人呢一邊。跟住就係現場係鼓掌。跟住到呢個何韻詩。多謝麥克高文主席、盧比奧聯席主席、各位委員會成員舉行呢次聽證會，亦都多謝你哋喺香港呢個關鍵時刻邀請我嚟到呢度。我哋希望我哋嘅個人陳述能夠幫助你哋審視乜嘢係美國國會同埋美國人民可以幫助香港做嘅，特別係我哋嘅自由同埋自治喺被侵蝕嘅時候。依家已經係有100多日，香港嘅年輕人帶領我哋嘅城市進行呢場歷史性嘅時代革命。呢一場係冇大台嘅運動，各行業、各階層嘅人廣泛參與。呢個係爭取民主嘅抗爭，爭取人權嘅抗爭。最重要嘅係呢個係爭取普世價值同埋自由嘅抗爭。最開始嘅時候，100萬人出嚟遊行反對逃犯條例修訂，運動後來轉化成為爭取為根本性改革香港政治制度嘅堅定抗爭。香港特區行政長官林鄭月娥嘅錯判同埋傲慢，導致北京政府對香港事務嘅全面控制，同時表現出兩地政府唔顧香港全面，唔願意喺香港全面實施落實一國兩制。由於林鄭匿喺警察後面幾個月，佢拒絕以誠意解決政治問題，佢已經俾警察不惜一切代價鎮壓抗爭嘅絕對權力。喺6月以嚟，香港警方喺無數次使用武力逮捕、毆打和平抗爭者方面變得極度殘忍。依家已經有1004人被逮捕，更多人包括記者、醫護同埋社工受到催淚彈、橡膠子彈、水炮同埋警察無差別咁使用警棍嚴重傷害。從個人角度嚟講，遠離家鄉去觀察遠離城市係非常難受嘅，尤其是過去嘅週末，我哋睇到警察嘅行為失控。可悲嘅係睇到年輕人被強力撳喺地上，頭部流血，腦部受重擊，有啲被打暈，但係仍被警察拒絕治療，已經成為一種新常態。防暴警察同埋便衣警察喺履行職務嘅時候一啲都唔克制。從最初幾個星期開始，佢哋故意隱藏警號，甚至喺要求嘅時候，被要求嘅時候都係拒絕出示委任證。因此公民無法核實便衣警察嘅身份，唔能夠俾任何警察對佢哋嘅違法行為負責。上個月，一名擁有10支觀星筆嘅大學生被捕，而且被拘留48小時。一個醫護被布袋彈射爆右眼有可能永久失去視力。8月31號，特別操龍小隊警察衝入太子地鐵站，隨意毆打乘客，跟住佢哋關閉車站24個鐘頭，拒絕為受傷者 提供醫療服務，引起車站有可能死亡嘅懷疑。佢哋最近被指進入中學、商場同埋巴士，年輕人只要身穿黑衣就會被搜查甚至被捕，即使警方根本沒有正當嘅理由。簡言之，喺我哋今日香港，年輕人犯罪，我哋現在正在成為一個警察國家，人係不斷擔心政治嘅影響。另外，7月21號喺元朗地鐵站發生一宗非常嚴重嘅暴徒襲擊事件，警察冇及時抵達保護平民，警察喺事件39分鐘之後先出現，雖然有數以百計嘅緊急求助電話。類似嘅情況喺後來嘅抗爭者事件都有發生。警方喺同埋暴民同埋親北京嘅支持者提供優惠待遇，幫喺佢哋喺襲擊抗爭者之後離開現場。呢個顯示警方同埋黑社會之間有明顯嘅勾結。8月11日，警方阻撓義務牧師為新屋嶺中心嘅拘留中心嘅被捕抗爭者提供法律援助，侵犯咗54個人嘅合法權益。警察局之內仲有女性抗爭者提出曾經被性騷擾以及多次身體虐待嘅指控。喺7月以嚟，警方已經有系統咁否決咗30個集會發出反對通知書，其中包括8月18號170萬人嘅集會。儘管警方發出禁令，抗爭者仍然和平咁集會同埋遊行。根據香港基本法同埋國際標準，香港居民享有集會同埋示威權利、自由、和平嘅公共集會係公共虛間嘅合法使用嘅權利。香港政府禁止集會係侵犯咗人民嘅和平抗議嘅權利。隨住警方違規嘅行為每日不斷累積，香港人一直要求成立一個獨立嘅調查委員會。行政長官林鄭月娥拒絕咁做，聲稱我哋已經有成立咗一個監警會，正係呢個現有嘅監警會。實際上完全係由行政長官本人委任，冇法律權力傳喚證人，亦都冇辦法係強迫警方提供足夠嘅文件，因此冇辦法伸張正義。呢場抗爭始於逃犯條例嘅修訂法案，但係核心問題上，佢始終係自然兩種價值觀之間嘅根本衝突。一方面係中國模式，佢唔尊重人權法治，只要人民服從；另一方面係多元城市，其存在大部分時間都有呢種自由。對於美國同埋其他新興國亦係希望呢種有普世價值、有深刻嘅依戀。唔好彩嘅係，隨住習近平嘅獨裁政權興起，一國兩制正走向死亡。香港代表咗一種喺世界上獨一無二嘅嘢，作為一個深深扎根喺亞洲文化嘅十字路口，以及用佢嘅價值觀同埋法治、透明制度同埋信息言論自由文明。我哋希望隨住國際嘅發展，我哋將朝住保護世界各地嘅普世價值方向發展。
Chairman McGovern, Co-Chairman Rubio, and members of the committee.
跟
Thank
住
you for your
係張崑
invitation
陽
to this
嘅
hearing.
發言。
Last year, Chinese President Xi Jinping said in a closed-door meeting that China would never embrace the judicial independence in the West. This is why people in Hong Kong are trying hard to reject the extradition bill because we do not believe in a country who would not stand on human rights, disqualifying our legislators and kidnapping our booksellers.亦都係提到銅鑼灣書店事件啦，同埋拒絕呢個普選。除咗提出要求撤回條例之外，香港人亦都要求係唔好成為一個警察嘅社會。同埋香港人係要求係有呢個結構性嘅政制改革。 We cannot have a society compromising the interests of individuals. The voice of these people should always be heard.
人民嘅聲音永遠要聽到，我哋喺呢一點上面係唔可以係妥協嘅。我哋嘅學生會係不斷被騷擾同埋威脅。
Were told by the police that it was reasonable for them to rape some female protester when they frequently
其中一個成員曾經表示過，有警察向佢表示，就算強姦呢個女抗爭者都係合理嘅。
people who side with Beijing are now advocating to install surveillance cameras inside the classroom to monitor teachers and students who dare to support caste strike and support the movement.
課室入邊都係裝咗好多嘅監控嘅鏡頭。
This is the rice terror created by the Beijing government, which
呢個係搞緊白色恐怖。
Nowadays, students and Hong Kong people are even ready to die for Hong Kong, and some
今日香港人係甚至願意為香港而死。
This is the ultimate sacrifice for the motherland, and we must not forget them. Many students face strong objection from their family. Some of them are even forced to leave home. But they still choose to head to the front line, carrying a letter with their last will. They are determined. They understand that the price of freedom is high. It always has been. But it is a price they are willing to pay, and it is a path of liberation they are willing to choose. We do not fight for freedom out of passion. Passion will burn out. We fight for freedom from sense of duty and dignity. China is rising. China is using its nationalism and invasive economic dominance to colonize small countries and put intense pressure on people and companies like Cathay Pacific who do not conform to them. Teachers, students, civil servants, businessmen are all facing political purge in Hong Kong. This new form of imperialism of China poses a severe threat to Hong Kong. This is a clash of values and system. We need to contain the Communist Party of China. Offering help to Hong Kong is the primary move to contain China. One country, two system will expire in 2047. US government should help Hong Kong people have the right to decide our future. Therefore, we urge the US Congress to pass the Human Rights and Democracy Act to expand the current sanction list to all individuals who infringe our human rights. Moreover, if a genuine universal suffrage cannot be achieved immediately, our autonomy and rule of law will continue to erode. The situation of China manipulating Hong Kong as a backdoor for trading with Iran and North Korea will also continue. Then, the US government should not acknowledge the special status of Hong Kong. US must send a strong signal that this special status should be cancelled if Hong Kong lost its autonomy in order to put pressure on China. Otherwise, China will keep taking advantage of Hong Kong's as an international society, but hollow out our liberal values. With such an assertive policy, it's demonstrated that America will no longer tolerate totalitarianism. Hong Kong people will take every step with the last inch of our efforts to fight for democracy and freedom. As Thomas Jefferson once said that he would be forever against any form of tyranny. And I believe this is the time for Americans to stand with Hong Kong. 光復香港時代革命 ，Thank you。
光復香港時代革命，希望大家都支持。
Ms. Home, welcome。
好啦，啱啱聽到張崑陽嘅發言，跟住到交俾何生。
It's an honor for me to stand in solidarity with the frontline activists. I want to thank the commission members for their critical support.
我要感謝委員會邀請我嚟發言，以及你喺香港人權民主法案裏邊嘅領導作用。喺過去嘅3個月呢，全世界都目睹咗歷史性嘅大衛同哥斯拉嘅對決。香港人呢，正係面對住強大嘅北京獨裁政權。香港人呢，不單止係為740萬嘅香港人嘅民主自由未來而奮鬥，同樣呢係為所有人嘅自由而奮鬥。正如委員會嘅今日嘅聽證講到，香港嘅夏天係一個躁動嘅夏天。香港過去呢都有過大規模嘅抗爭運動。2014年嘅時候呢，佔領運動結束嘅時候呢，香港嘅民主運動人士曾經咁樣講過：我哋呢會翻嚟嘅。The protests, supported by unflagging solidarity and broad, diverse participation of Hong Kong society, 呢次香港嘅反送中運動呢，係得到咗社會各界嘅廣泛團結。 香港警方呢，目前呢正係處於失控、無法無天嘅狀況。正如毛主席所講呢，哪裏有壓迫，哪裏就有反抗。毛主席都講過啦，任何人呢，淨係學生啦，佢嘅結果呢係唔會好嘅。我想提到呢香港有關嘅法治，因為呢個呢係根植於香港嘅一國兩制。台灣總統蔡英文呢就目前香港嘅局勢呢曾經講過，香港嘅模式呢證明咗一國兩制呢同埋獨裁呢民主呢係唔能夠共存嘅。香港呢曾經係一度考慮重新引入呢基本法23條。要求香港人呢對共產黨有絕對嘅忠誠。呢個將會削弱香港嘅法治啦，同埋香港嘅新聞自由。香港嘅國歌法呢，建議中嘅國歌法呢，也有同樣嘅要求，要求香港人忠誠。香港警方而家呢嗰種嘅執法程度，已經引起咗呢國際社會嘅廣泛關注啦。而中國喺聯合國嗰種嘅粗暴行為呢，亦引起咗國際社會嘅注視。This cuts Hong Kong people as well as human rights defenders on the mainland and Tibetan and Uyghur communities from the key international platforms that's available to press for accountability. 逮捕抗爭者呢，使到民主活動人士呢處於困境。It is vocally and persistently asserting a set of relativist criteria that it alone can apply and pushing for Chinese models of human rights, democracy and development. That is no human rights, no development. 而中國呢正在推動呢中國模式嘅人權與民主法治，而呢種所謂嘅民主法治呢根本就唔係法治嚟㗎。I want to point quickly to its role in blocking independent voices. China sits on the ecosystem 我想提出呢中國去滅絕啲獨立聲音所作嘅工作。Who do not face any objections, such as the interruptions of Denise Ho's recent intervention at the Human Rights Council. The intervention last week by Patsy Ho, the representative of the Hong Kong Federation of Women, is illustrative. She not only defended the SAR government's handling of protests, but she accused the Hong Kong protesters of child exploitation. 喺聯合國嘅發言呢，係指控示威人士。Director of Macau Casino Operation and is also a standing committee member of the Beijing Municipal Committee of the Chinese People's Consultative Conference. Because I am out of time, I want to really take the time to jump ahead to the problem of in addition to the disinformation campaign, including 我想要提出嘅話咧，喺而家呢個所謂嘅信息戰嘅過程裏邊，英文《中國日報》咧用世貿大樓911時候嘅一張嘅圖片失實嘅圖片咧，去描述香港嘅抗爭者一個暴力嘅行為，係並未得到國際社會太多嘅批評㗎。而香港警察呢係有全面嘅戰術裝備嘅保護啦，佢哋有橡膠子彈啦、槍支、催淚彈、胡椒噴霧同埋警棍。因此呢，暴力嘅升級呢，警方係作為衝突升級嘅一方㗎。Moreover, the narrow violence framing of the situation on the ground is erasing or marginalizing intentionally the proliferation of diverse,
creative and peaceful protests by the Hong Kong people, including by students in boycotts, elderly citizens, silver-hair volunteers protecting the children.
我哋見到銀髮族嘅志願者咧組織起嚟保護孩子啦，喺商場啦、地鐵站啦，喺10點鐘嘅時候啊，佢哋唱出願榮光歸香港，組成人鏈啦，組成連儂牆啦。
And a small family-owned bakery in Saiwan made mooncakes with protest slogans.
而西環啊，一個小商店咧係用抗爭者嘅抗爭口號啦做月餅。嗱，依家就係呢啲咧香港發生緊嘅事啦。
Practicing democracy and exercising their freedoms for as long as possible. Hong Kongers are making the road by walking it. That is the real revolution already underway.
而家香港正在發生嘅係一個真正嘅革命，香港人咧要走自己嘅路。
Dr. Garrett, thank you for coming, and we welcome your testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman McGovern and Rubio, distinguished members of the Commission.
各位早晨。
It is an honor and a privilege to talk with you regarding
好榮幸啦，能夠同大家喺度發言，講到一國兩制嘅磨滅啦。
under the pretext of national security and its nexus to the
喺以國安法為由之下嘅立法，
I'll begin with 5 key observations background
我想同大家講啦5個我嘅發現。
Hong Kong conflict and the one country two systems crisis. First, today's one country two systems is not the same as Deng Xiaoping's notion.
第一就係而家所講嘅一國兩制咧，並非鄧小平所提出嗰個㗎啦。
Instead, it has been replaced by Xi Jinping's
而家香港所講一國兩制咧，已經被習近平模式嘅一國兩制所取代。
An enemy-friend binary and foregrounding Chinese national security as the paramount lens for governing the special administrative region and implementing one country two systems, rather than a confidence-building mechanism ensuring peaceful coexistence. One country two systems under Xi Jinping is now
北京選擇咧唔喺香港建立一個互信啦，佢選擇嘅係用國家嘅主權高於一切。第二而家所講嘅一國兩制咧，係根據習近平嘅佢嘅治國理念咧而形成嘅。
and its development, reform, and stability sabotaged, thereby leading to the derailing of China's rise, socialist modernization, and the one country, two systems policy. The latter dramatically broadens the notion of Chinese national security and radically expands the scope of Chinese authorities' prerogatives in administering one country, two systems. 而家一國兩制咧係快速咁增加啦中國大陸嘅影響力，咁同時咧消磨緊啦特區政府嘅自治嘅範圍。 咁同樣咧，都廣泛咁危險到咧，美國公民咧喺香港。香港嘅異見人士咧係而家咧係處於被威脅嘅狀態。 and terrorized with real and rhetorical political violence. The promise of Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong has been effectively replaced.
而呢個咧所謂香港人管理香港、治理香港嘅承諾啊。
declarations and party-state media propagating Hong Konger enemy and Hong Kong threat security discourses.
國內媒體而家都講緊香港人咧係國家嘅敵人。
Like Mass Line and United Front denunciation campaigns targeting Democrats.
可以見到咧，中國媒體咧係開動咗成個嘅宣傳嘅機器咧，去針對本土人士。自從2012年開始咧， 咁中國咧正係面臨住同西方世界，特別係以美國為首嘅意識形態嘅競爭。
The struggle to rule Hong Kong was said to have matched the intensity surrounding the 1997 handover, and that China had to now rethink how to rule the enclave. An influential advisor to senior Chinese authorities said that Hong Kong faced a society-wide quote-unquote long-term struggle
高層嘅呢個意見人士曾經講過，
a de facto cultural revolution that would involve at a minimum
一個新嘅文化大革命咧係需要出現。 包括對香港嘅立法啦、新聞啦。 咁特區政府而家係將中國大陸嘅共產嗰種嘅意識形態咧，就帶到香港啦。而家呢個嘅抗爭咧，係一國兩制之下咧最大嘅一個危機。我哋而家見到咧，中國政府係面臨住自建國以嚟第6次最大嘅政治危機。每一次中國大陸面臨嘅政治危機咧，都對國家嘅穩定咧係有構成威脅㗎。咁高速將香港變成中國一個城市嘅話咧，係會將直接影響到香港人而家所擁有嘅所有嘅自由啦。中國高層官員咧曾經咁樣形容。習近平掌權以嚟咧，國家安全咧，佢係擺喺好首要嘅位置㗎。喺呢個反送中嘅初期啊，我哋見到2個政治局嘅委員呢係表示支持呢個嘅修例。我見到中聯辦同埋港澳辦嘅官員呢，黃志文等等都表示支持。咁當時講到咧，如果呢個條例咧冇得到中央政府嘅廣泛支持咧，係將會撤回㗎。
involved the mainland special administrative region relationship with the central government and the implementation of the basic law, it was not a matter entirely within the autonomy of the special administrative region government. This touches upon the Hong Kongers' 5 demands as well as U.S. national security, U.S. policy towards Hong Kong. Beijing's imposition of communist legal, political, and social national security norms on Hong Kong constitute a violation of Article 5 of the Basic Law.
而中國政府咧要喺香港實施咧就係中國大陸嘅價值咧，呢個係違反咗基本法第5條。一旦有效咁化解咗咧香港社會唔同意嘅聲音嘅話咧，係會削弱到美國嘅喺香港嘅利益㗎。
My last 2 comments before I submit the rest of my testimony. The Hong Kong police force has been militarized and nationalized by the Chinese Communist Party.
香港嘅警隊咧已經係軍事化咗啦，同埋被國家化咗啦。
Since the beginning of 2019, mainland police have been tasked by President Xi with quote-unquote preventing and countering.
2019年嘅時候咧，習近平曾經對中國嘅警隊咧實施改革。
Subsequently ordered police to firmly fight to protect China's political security unquote.
要求警隊咧對國家嘅安全咧實施強烈嘅保護啊！而香港警察咧亦都接受到類似嘅國家嘅教育啦，同樣要求咧警隊捍衛中國嘅國家利益。
Also, according to a vice chairman of the State Council's Chinese Association of Hong Kong and Macau Studies, the Hong Kong police were now, quote-unquote, on the forefront when it came to curbing Hong Kong independence, which meant their duty was not just to maintain public order, but to defend national security too.
而同時咧有發現咧，香港嘅啲黑社會咧係第4中隊，用嚟維護香港所謂嘅穩定。
In no small way, the Hong Kong police have become the special administrative region's people's armed police. My last comment.
最簡單咁講咧，香港警隊已經成為咗咧香港人民嘅警隊啦。
to systematically manipulating and recasting Deng Xiaoping's era content and understandings of the basic law in one country, two systems, to accommodate Xi Jinping's totalitarian national security mandates.
最後咧，佢哋嘅目標咧就要實施習近平嘅嗰種嘅專制嘅統治。
Hong Kong Macau Studies Association, a shadowy political warfare-like think tank connected to the State Council's Hong Kong and Macau's Affairs Office, is one of these new subversive vehicles. Concomitantly, a network of party-state constitutional and basic law experts and scholars, some attached to the National People's Congress Standing Committee, Hong Kong Basic Law Committee, have similarly contributed significantly to the erosion of one country, two systems policy, mobilized political violence, and informed the central authorities' understandings of the actual situation in the region. All these united frontiers are key players in the erosion of Hong Kong's freedoms and democracy and enablers of state tyranny. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll save my questions to the end. I'm going to yield now to the
跟住落嚟咧係
Senator Rubio.
問答嘅時間。
I'll just ask one question because I know members have places to go and I want them to get in on this. But you know, the sort of the key issue before us is autonomy. If you go back in 2014, they took away universal suffrage for the chief executive. In 2016 and 17, they jailed or sorry, they disqualified
2014年嘅時候咧，魯比奧議員問到咧已經取消咗雙普選啦。
from legislative council seats using a very controversial interpretation of the Hong Kong Constitution.
當時咧係相當受爭議嘅。
So my question to all the panelists is,
我想問
how
咧
would you
所有
describe the
嘅證人
state of Hong Kong autonomy today?
香港嘅自治咧同埋個程度有幾多咧？仲剩
During the
翻
last congressional hearing, I strongly
喺上次
aware
嘅國
how
會聽證
one
中，
country, two system eroded to be one country, one and a half system.
我講到咧
But
香
the
港嘅一
recent
國兩制咧變成
political crisis
一國一
by
點五制
how
啦。
Hong Kong and Beijing government turned such a global city into the police state with more violence.
香港
and
嘅
even white
衰變咧
terror.
要視乎咧
I would describe now
北
as
京
the
點樣將
collapse
香港變成一個
of
警察
one
嘅城市
country, two system, and also we are facing the death under the current constitutional framework. And I think now is also
我
the
哋面對
time
緊嘅
and the
係
reason
香港嘅
which
小
we
憲法
hope
基本法
to
嘅
seek
死
for
亡。
bipartisan support. Support Hong Kong separatization should not be the matter of left or right. It should be the matter of
我
right
認為
or
咧
wrong.
支持香港唔應該有左與右嘅分別。
So on a more cultural and social context,
喺文化同埋社會嘅層面咧，
the immense fear among the people
香港有好大嘅
to speak their
恐懼。
minds, which is a result of how the businesses and the government institutions they have
因為呢
put
個
pressure
社會同埋政府
onto
咧
their employees or the people
對佢嘅僱員咧施加好大嘅壓力，
to keep their mouths shut, basically.
要佢哋唔好講
And
嘢。
so this has a huge impact on the economy because
呢個對香港嘅經濟好大
without
嘅
this
衝擊。
freedom of speech, it's very difficult for the economy and also
因為冇咗
the
言論自由咧，對
society
經濟
to
咧係會
thrive.
造成好大影響
Because
㗎。
in a sense, we are already in somewhat of a China city situation
而
where
與此同時咧，香港
people
係有啲
would,
變到好似一個
fear
中國嘅城市啦。
for their safety if they
咁正如
spoke
國內一樣
out,
咧
about their
就
political
擔心如
stance.
果因為佢哋唔同嘅意
Just
見
for
講
an
咗出嚟之後
example,
咧
there，has been a
會收到一啲嘅
unofficial Hong Kong anthem recently that has
反對
been written by a anonymous songwriter, and they have opted to keep their
正而家咧
anonymity because
袁光輝形
if they
要
have
香
shown
港
their
呢首
faces,
被以為
then
香港
most
嘅
probably
國
they
歌
would have been
嘅作詞
arrested
作曲人咧，而家佢哋咧
or
都唔易露面，
prosecuted because of,
擔心
on
咧
claims of
會受到呢個
national
報復同埋打擊
national
同埋
security threats. So
啊
that's
安全
basically
上
the
邊嘅人身
sentiment
安全
on the
嘅衝擊咯。
grounds, for Hong Kong people.
以上咧係何韻詩嘅回答。
Last year, the USCC published a report concerns that Hong Kong is becoming more likely like any other Chinese city. And that
上年咧
means
美
that
國
our
國會
autonomy is already gone. And actually, even the
行政當局
USCC
政策委員會
has
曾經
issued
發
a
表報告咧
report，to claim
就
that
寫到香
the
港
autonomy of
有可
Hong
能咧
Kong is
就變成
already
中國
in
嘅
danger.
一樣嘅一個內部
In
嘅城市。
UK, when I met some politicians,
喺英國當我咧
tell
與英
them
國
that
當地
the
嘅
Chinese government already
議員會面嘅時候
breached the Sino-British Joint Declaration. And that's why I would say the autonomy of Hong Kong is already dead. And that's
而我
why
認為
we
咧
urge the
香
US
港嘅
government and
自治
other
咧
free world countries
係已
try
經死
to
咗㗎
help
啦。
with Hong Kong with many like passing the Human Rights and Democracy Act And you can pass the Global Magnitsky Act in other
所以
countries.
國會係需要通過咧人權與民主法案，同埋咧全球馬格尼斯基法案㗎。
Senator Rubio question is extremely important because
魯比奧議員嘅問題係相當重要啊。
that was a decision that was made by the Communist Party. We're going to
有關香港而家嘅經濟點樣嘅路向呢，係視乎於北京中央政府佢哋點樣去決定啦。
This has been echoed by the chief executive.
正如呢，特首行政長官林鄭月娥咧都係咁講。
Kind of ridiculous press conferences where she says nothing. One thing she does say is we need to restore the economy. We need to
林鄭月娥話咧，香港需要咧就重新恢復翻我哋經濟嘅繁榮咯。
That is causing a lot of the fundamental unrest. So the other point I wanted to add is that the Hong Kong economy was not delivering the goods to most of the Hong Kong people.
而我想講嘅話咧，就係香港嘅經濟而家咧，佢帶嚟嘅繁榮咧，並非係對所有香港人都帶嚟好處㗎。我哋有房屋問題啦，有教育問題，亦都有老人嘅問題啦，得唔到足夠嘅保護、足夠嘅照顧。當然，我哋要重新審視香港嘅經濟問題啦。
Autonomy, what it means
至於講到乜嘢係自治咧？
we only need to look at the so-called autonomous regions in Tibet and Xinjiang.
講自治嘅話，我哋睇下西藏啦，西藏自治區。
No cultural, no language, no history, no right to believe or practice your faith under the
喺西藏嗰度咧，你係冇權利咧去信奉你自己嘅宗教啦，同埋你嘅風俗㗎。
Past this life, as you know, the party is trying to now control reincarnation.
而家咧，中國共產黨咧，連達賴喇嘛嘅轉世啦都要控制。
What kind of Chineseness? Well, Xi Jinping's notion of Chineseness under the Chinese dream and what is Chinese. But Hong Kongers
而中國
are quite complex
習近平話咧，
as a
中國人
history
咩係中國人呢？
and culture, and I think Hong Kongers are going and are negotiating what it means to be a Hong Konger.
而我認為香港人對於呢個中國人呢係相當之即係感冒㗎。咩係香港人？咩係中國人呢？香港人呢係應該有權利去決定呢呢個咁複雜嘅問題。香港人應該有可以決定到呢，我應該要做啲乜嘢？我係邊個？
Thank you. The rule of patriots in Hong Kong basically means that there is no substantive high degree of autonomy. Basically, under Xi Jinping, a democratic centralism is practiced. They may solicit input from the Hong Kong
根據習近平嘅民主集中制咧，
the SAR government has to
當北京做咗決定，特區係必須要跟從㗎。
Building on Dr. Holmes' comments here, national identity is now a national security issue for the Communist Party in Hong Kong. And they believe that one of the major problems, this goes back to 2007,
建基於譚女士啱嘅講法咧，國家嘅安全咧係建基於國家嘅認同。
That the SAR government had to create a new generation of Hong Kongers who loved one country, two systems, who loved China.
香港政府咧喺呢個時候咧係需要建立一個嘅香港嘅族群咧，佢同樣要愛香港，亦都要愛中國大陸。
This also touches on Xi Jinping's Chinese Communist identity politics, which is attempting
而呢一點咧，同樣係觸及到習近平認為乜嘢係中國人嘅定位。
This is why we start seeing laws protecting the national anthem.
因此我哋見到咧有法例出嚟咧保障國歌啦、國歌法啦。而我哋知道香港歷史上從來都係反共㗎。
To eradicate so-called anti-communist sentiment and anti-communist forces. With regards to autonomy, because the Belt and Road Initiative and the Greater Bay Area initiatives are key to China's development program right now, and because the
大陸而家講緊嘅大灣區嘅概念咧，對佢哋嘅發展係好重要。
Hong Kong signing on and strongly supporting these programs has been the two systems, has been its democracy, has been its freedoms. It is now looking to restrict those in order to force the SAR government to support these programs. So, once again, in closing, I would say there is no substantive autonomy. Thank you.
因此，我想講咧，總結一句咧話咧，香港嘅自治咧係冇實質嘅內容㗎。
Thank you, Mr. Swazi.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Chairman Rubio for holding this hearing. We appreciate you bringing this together. Thank you, Chairman, Representative Smith, Ranking Member Smith, for the work that you've done on this issue for so many years. Thank you to the witnesses. We are so grateful to all of you for the information you've given us here today and for shining a light on this. I know we sit here in this chamber. It's very calm, it's very safe, it's very sterile, and you're bringing to life what's going on in real people's lives right now. When you talk about a 12-year-old being arrested, when we hear the idea that someone gets pepper spray sprayed into their wound, when we hear about people's heads being smashed into the concrete and getting concussions, and we hear about the rubber bullets and the tear gas and everything else, and people living in fear on a regular basis for standing up, for speaking their minds. Here in the United States of America, we've believed since Nixon went to China that the more that China was exposed to our way of life in the United States and to the West, that they would become more like us. We always thought they'd become, they saw capitalism, they saw democracy. Sooner or later, they'd become more and more like us. And we now know that that's not at all the case. Whether the hearings we've held about the Uyghurs, or the hearings about Tibet, or now about Hong Kong, we know that they're pulling, we talk about Hong Kong as being one country, two systems. It's really one world with two models, and they're meeting each other in Hong Kong right now. And the question is which model is going to win? Is it going to be the model that we promote here in the United States with the rule of law and with freedom of expression and with democracy, or is it going to be authoritarianism and the powerful forces of the government doing whatever they want? They're meeting right there, and you're right in the middle of that challenge right now, so we're so grateful to all of you. So I'm concerned about the timing of things right now. We're pushing to get this bill passed here in the Congress, but right now we've got, I think you talked about it, Joshua, the National Day in China is coming up on October 1st. And I'm concerned about what mainland China's actions are going to be in relation to that, and whether there'll be more violence will result as they try to flex their authority. And I'd like to hear each of you talk about that. And the second thing I'm concerned about are the local elections coming up in November. And I want to hear from you about whether you believe that there's an opportunity here for the people of Hong Kong to express themselves, or is the mainland trying to subvert that by not permitting certain candidates to run and not giving them permission to run, which is a foreign idea to us here in the United States of America, but so important to all of you. And the third timing is let's say a magic wand was all of a sudden waved, and mainland China said, we're going to support the idea of there being elections in the future in Hong Kong for the leader. Instead of Carrie Lam being appointed, it'd be an election by the people. That couldn't happen right away. It would take some time. I'd like to hear what you think about the timing. So let's try and keep it brief. I know I talked a lot myself and used up a lot of time. But please just, October 1st, Election Day, and how impactful that can be, and what the time would be if they were to agree as one of the 5 demands that there would be universal suffrage.
Apart from troops were already moved to the border a few weeks ago, that's the tactics for Beijing authorities to generate the chilling effect. We're strongly aware on how Carrie Lam, the leader of Hong Kong, openly declared that she is considering to impose emergency ordinance in HongOng to stop the protests. Emergency ordinance is the colonial era law, similar as martial law. It authorized the power for chief executive of Hong Kong to shut down the internet, cut the public transport, and even cut the air traffic. We all know that political crisis was solved by political system reform. That's the reason we urge Beijing not to handpick the leader. Please let us enjoy the right of free election. But they just conduct and consider to use this kind of martial law before or after the Chinese National Day. I think that's the reason not only people defending human rights must care about, even businessmen that focus on and enjoying economic freedom and open business environment. They should aware on how Hong Kong is not only on the brink of bloodshed, it's also under the threat of those martial law and white terror. So I really hope to have bipartisan support to pass the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act. After explaining what's happening before after Chinese National Day, the upcoming District Council elections scheduled on 24th of November, with the track record of how Beijing unseated democratically elected lawmakers, including Nathan Law and Agnes Chow, the one who hoped to run for office on early last year. We strongly expect and aware that Beijing will still keep its hardline policy to Hong Kong and to block or bar youngsters to run for office. As the one who engaged in street activism, I also hope the voice of young generation could be heard inside the institution. And at the same time, I also will make certain announcement in the late September or early October for myself will run for office on the district council or not. If Beijing government ban me to run for office, they must to pay the price on Hong Kong people, on Hong Kong protests, and also in the international community.
So in Hong Kong, there are many pan-democratics and many pro-Beijing folks. Is there a chance that could change, that dynamic could change because of the protests that are going on?
In district council, we have 452 seats, and more than 75% of the seats are almost dominated by pro-Beijing camp. And on 24th of November, we hope pro-democratic camp can get a good turnout to show the power of people.
I just want to emphasize the timing coming up. October 1st, November 24th, a big day that could have a big impact on what Beijing is doing and what is happening from the people. And it could be a flashpoint. We have to be very conscious of that. Denise, do you want to go ahead?
Yes, personally, I don't feel that October 1st would be something to stop the people from going onto the streets, as the sentiment is still very, very determined and very strong among all walks of life. And so this fight has been able to sustain itself because of this sort of creativity and the flexibility of the people. And so I believe that without a sincere answer or solution from the government, the people won't be backing down.
如果政府冇誠意去解決問題，香港人係唔會妥協嘅。
On the even escalating level, I don't
政府係會對香港人嘅威嚇、鎮壓係會升級嘅。
Police among the Hong Kong police force, there have been several occasions where the police commanders have been heard talking in Mandarin to their officers. So
過往係有幾次係聽到有香港警察係用普通話嚟到講嘢啦。
This sort of infiltration of the Chinese police.
懷疑係有呢個公安係滲入香港嘅警隊啦。依家係問跟住Rosie係再問有冇機會係會升級咧局勢。
People are arrested, just for being young, really. So I think
何韻詩係答到依家啲年輕人係只不過係因為後生就會俾人拉㗎啦。
Call for the U.S. Congress and also international communities to monitor this regime, that is the Xi Jinping regime, because we in Hong Kong, we are protecting these values that we all believe in, and if we fail, then what knows what would happen to the world and to the next stage.
Thank you. Sunny?
何韻詩係提到即係我哋係唔輸得嘅，
Thank you for the question. Personally, I think on the National Day, actually, there will be more escalation on the movement, and because I know that the Chinese authority must want the Hong Kong people try to respect the National Day, but on the other hand, Hong Kong protesters, they also know that it's important to have some symbolic movement on the National Day. And that's why there will be some escalation of the movement. But I doubt if the Chinese government they dare to use the emergency law or send out the PLA to come to Hong Kong. Because currently China relies on Hong Kong very much. Many foreign investment from China is still coming from Hong Kong. And that's why once if they deployed the PLA or try to use emergency law to crack down on Hong Kong protesters, I think this is not very promising for Hong Kong people and for the Beijing government. And Beijing government will not do something like that, I feel.
佢認為香港係會受到好大影響嘅，所以佢認為北京係唔會用呢個解放軍同埋緊急法。跟住係到譚競嫦嘅回答。
infiltration and use of decoys. Last August 2018, the People's Daily announced the establishment of the Greater Bay Area Police Cooperation Mechanism among Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau. Related to and part of this mechanism, the Guangdong Public Security Department conducted training of key Hong Kong police personnel in Guangdong. This has been followed up on. And one of the questions I think is important to press either through the UN system is to raise the question of really what kind of training. I am pretty sure that the training did not include international standards on appropriate use of force and the special procedures of the UN special experts just last week issued a joint statement about concern and also raising these questions of the need to make the police, the Hong Kong police, there are very sophisticated, detailed standards on the use of force, that you're supposed to de-escalate, not escalate, you're supposed to reduce harm, not create harm, and that there is a whole range of police crowd control mechanisms, and they're supposed to choose according to proportionality. So I wanted to just emphasize that. On the timing of National Day, I think we can't lose sight of the fact that Xi Jinping is not as powerful as we may think or as he would like us to think. And that it is true that with the consolidation of power, etc., his no-term limit now both of the key positions. The fact is, what you're getting to see, the tea leaves, if you look a little more closely, is that the party leaders inside are not happy with the way that Xi Jinping has handled the Hong Kong situation. How do we know this? We know this because Carrie Lam, the chief executive, on a Monday, I believe, said, no, 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 no withdrawal, no, 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 etc., etc. I withdrew it, no formal. 2 days later, that kind of disingenuous explanation, I have heard the Hong Kong people. For goodness sakes, it's been 3 months. If you can't hear 2 million, 3 million people, why in 2 days did she suddenly say, I will now formally? So Xi Jinping is actually in a lose-lose situation. It's a no-win situation. He's stuck between the hardliners, who I am pretty much concerned about, are pushing for military force, because he has already shown he's failed. Deng Xiaoping took 2 months, shut down the whole 89 student and the democracy and free trade union movement. We are now in the 3rd month, so under the party's time frame on how you can handle these mass disputes, he has failed. So he's in a pretty dicey situation. October 1st, this is not any anniversary. This is the 70th anniversary. So they have invested a year's worth of enormous investment in film festival, special documentaries made. They have said that no Chinese documentaries in the Chinese TV recently, they have to show the history, and etc. There's an enormous amount of investment to keep the legitimacy and have a wonderful birthday celebration for the country. So he's stuck. It can't look bad. On the other hand, he's stuck between the hardliners and the others who are saying, there's got to be a way to handle this. Not the way you're doing it, because now we look terrible. Now we look like the thugs we are. And so I think that what we should be monitoring are the messages. And just last week, a very strange editorial appeared in Qiu Shi, which, as you know, is one of the major party organs. And in Qiu Shi, the editorial pointed out something very strange. It said, whether a country's political, this is our translation, sorry, whether a country's political system is democratic and effective, one needs to mainly look at whether the country's leadership ranks can rotate or alternate in accordance with the law in an orderly fashion. What does this mean? We don't know. Because just the fact that the Constitution eliminated the term limits for the top office doesn't mean he'll stay. So I think there are some other wild cards that are on the table that we need to keep an eye on.
所以依家其實係有好多可能性，有啲好唔可能嘅嘢都係有可能會發生嘅。
Initiatives. This is very important, but I think there's something much bigger underway in terms of the politics in Beijing that will absolutely have an impact on the decisions that will be made.
可能係有一啲好大嘅事情係發生緊嘅，呢個係譚競嫦嘅發言。
We'll let Dan.
You want to let Dan go?
All right. Why don't we hold and we'll go to Senator Young.
I just have a statement to make, and I regret I'm going to have to leave after this, but I wanted to say thank you, Mr. Wong. Thank you, Ms. Ho, for your courage, for your resolve, for your leadership in the face of great trial and tribulation. Thank you for the example you are setting for the world. And for all that you're doing for freedom-loving peoples. I want to send a message to Beijing's communists. And my message is, you cannot have it both ways. You cannot seek to trade with the wealthy nations of the world and rip off our intellectual property. You cannot seek to be a trusted international development partner and engage in predatory economic practices through your Belt and Road Initiative. And you cannot reap all the economic benefits that you enjoy under American law of Hong Kong's special status while undermining your rights as Hong Kongers, while eradicating your political identity. We cannot allow this to happen. So I look forward to working with you. I will be signing on to the legislation offered by the co-chairman of this committee, as you have encouraged us to do so. And I'll be seeking other opportunities, perhaps in the immigration area, to provide further relief to Hong Kongers who do not want to be a part of this predatory regime that calls itself communist, but in fact is really fascist in many respects. And we must continue to press it to change its behavior. Thank you so much for your presence here.
Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There is no disputing the fact that under Xi Jinping, human rights abuses have seriously worsened. You name the area, from torture, religious freedom. Ms. Holm, you talked about the synthesization of religions, where every single religion or faith, including the Falun Gong, Christians, Tibetan Buddhists, the Uyghurs, all have to comport to the communist model or else face severe torture, incarceration, and even death. It is incredible what he is doing and his regime. And of course, all of that will be imposed on Hong Kong unless there is a reversal of this trend. On human trafficking, the Trump administration has designated China as a Tier 3 country because of sex and labor trafficking. It has gotten seriously worse over the last several years. So every place you look, it is worse. Xi Jinping is bringing dishonor to himself and to his government with his abuse of people. And I think we need to say that loud and clear. The father of democracy, Wei Jianxiong, once said, and I had him at a hearing, and I actually met him in Beijing when he was let out briefly to get Olympics 2000, which the Chinese government didn't get. So they rearrested him and beat him almost senseless. Well, he said, you know, you Westerners don't get it. You do coddle dictatorship. You do allow and enable by your weakness. You got to look a dictatorship in the eye and say, we're not kidding. Conditionality of human rights either occurs,
你需要對獨裁者咧睇住佢眼睛，同我哋講啊，我哋並唔害怕。
you to use that economic power that you get to further incarcerate and further repress. You know, the lessons of the Soviet Union were not learned when it came to China. I got elected in 1981. My first trip was to Moscow and Leningrad on behalf of Soviet Jews. And frankly, the Reagan administration stood up strongly to the powers in Moscow and said, human rights matter. And it did matter, and thankfully we saw a change. Of course, under Putin it's still bad, but not as bad as it was during those years. I raise all of that because when it came to China, we have not learned the lessons of conditionality with regards to human rights. And I say that with sadness, with great sadness. When we did the Comprehensive Anti-Apartheid Act in 1986, not only did I vote for it, but we had a world coalition saying this egregious behavior will not be tolerated, therefore we're going to hold you to account and no longer provide munitions, which Mr. McGovern's bill, which I've co-sponsored, would seek to do with the police.
喺眾議員麥嘉芬嘅呢個法案裏邊呢，我係同意㗎，唔好再向香港提供人群控制嘅武器。
About all of this, and I just bring this up because it deeply concerns me that we just keep not learning the lessons. Nancy Pelosi,
我將呢個話題提出嚟呢，係想話俾大家知咧，我哋要點解我哋仲未咧可以吸取咧喺中國問題上面嘅教訓呢？
Thought he could manage the whole thing. He was our ambassador to China, and as it turned out, we managed it extraordinarily poorly. Bill Clinton came in and he said, "Let's link human rights with MFN trade."
克林頓呢，佢講過咧就話要將人權呢同埋咧最優惠嘅待遇咧就連埋一齊。1年之後咧，佢就將佢解咗鈎啦。而家咧，我係嘗試咗5年將我嘅法案，即係香港人權民主法案呢，去通過。不過咧，同一班人同我講咧，我哋淨係要多啲貿易，同中國多啲貿易。嗱，佢哋咧係將會繼續錯落去㗎。香港咧有好優良嘅人民啦。
Liberty going to prison, being arrested, being harassed, and even killed and tortured. This Congress needs to wake up and say,
呢個國會係需要醒覺㗎。
We're going to put conditionality on this. So if you want to speak to that, I would appreciate it. There have been 1,000 arrests since the activities occurred.
呢個反修例運動至今呢，超過1000多人呢已經係被拘捕咗啦。
But there are many other cases that are in obscurity right now. What is happening to those individuals? And just generally on the police, are the police largely newer recruits who are more ideologically aligned with Beijing, or are they the
新招聘嘅人呢，佢哋嘅信念係乜嘢嘅呢？係咪同北京嘅諗法係一模一樣嘅呢？
Than they had been in the past. If you could speak to those things, I would appreciate it.
With more than 1,500 Hong Kong were arrested in the past 3 months, more than 200
跟住落嚟咧係黃之鋒嘅回答。香港而家已經超過1500人咧係被拘捕咗啦。嗱，我係被拘捕嘅其中一個。
Some of those activists were already detained inside prison before any trial started.
而我係留意到咧，有啲被拘捕嘅抗爭者咧，佢係未經過法庭嘅審訊咧，已經係被關到喺監獄裏邊。嗱，呢個就係香港模式嘅司法體制喺中國嘅陰影之下。
Even I've the experience to be jailed for around 120 days, but the
咁雖
price
然我
I
有咧
paid
被關押
is
過
just
100
more
日
piece
嘅
of
經驗
cake.
啊。
Because lots of our teammates, from my understanding,
好多
more
我
than
嘅同
100 of
伴
them face the riot charges, might be locked up in prison for more than 10 years.
係面對住咧呢個所謂嘅暴動罪嘅，咁佢哋咧要被收監嘅年份係更加長。而我哋嘅合法嘅聚會咧，都面臨到1到2年嘅勞刑。
They should enjoy their summer holiday. They should spend the time more
香港
time
年輕人應該係喺享受呢個夏天啦，同家人同屋企人埋一齊。
being prosecuted.
不過而家佢哋好多人咧係被控
And
告啦。
maybe from 15 or 16 at the age, the golden year
呢啲15到18歲嘅年輕人啊，係佢哋黃金時間。
And also we have activists at
咁將佢哋關到
who
監
fight
獄裏
for
邊咧，
Hong Kong's freedom. Already
我哋
being
見到好
locked
多
up in
嘅
prison, need to
抗爭者咧
face
係
6
香港
years
嘅
in
自由去
prison.
奮鬥㗎。
Apart from the massive arrest and prosecution,
講到
it seems to
大
be
量
the
嘅拘捕，
tactics for Beijing to
呢個
silence
似乎咧
our
就係
voice.
北
But
京嘅
with
其中一
our
個嘅
movement
策略
still
咧，
keep
要令到我哋收聲。
Just like 2 weeks ago,
就好似
more
2 禮
than
拜之前咧，
200,000 Hong Kongers marched
超
towards
過
US
200萬嘅香港人
consulate
咧
in Hong Kong urged to
站
pass
出
the
嚟。
bill and to show the global solidarity. We're also aware that the cabinet of chief executive, which
我哋
is
同樣留意到
member
咧，
from the executive council,
特首
last
林鄭
week
月娥
openly
嘅
declared
內閣
that
成員啊，公開咁
Hong
講到，
Kong's chief executive enjoy the right to appoint any secret police.
特首咧係
Secret
有權
police
咧
is not the terms
去委任任何
created
嘅秘密
by
警察㗎。
activists or created
呢
by
個咧係特首林鄭月娥
journalists.
嘅內閣成員咧
Is the
湯家驊所講
written
㗎。
in the current ordinance and regulation. It could authorize the power for Hong Kong chief executive to appoint anyone, no matter they live in Hong Kong, they live in mainland.
而呢種嘅委任嘅特務警察咧， 係可以委任㗎啦，包括咗啦喺嚟自中國大陸㗎。佢哋繼續用呢就係危害生命嘅方式去對待示威者。點解我哋認為香港而家係一個進入咗警察社會呢？以上呢就係呢個原因啦。我係其中一個咧，何韻詩嘅發言，我係其中一個咧被拘捕咧參與呢個騷亂嘅人士。而我當時咧只係距離呢個前線啊，去幫助其他嘅人呢去離開，包括社工啦。
They were not charged for riot, but that is something that is shocking to the Hong Kong people to have these legislators arrested. And so,
連立法會議員呢都被控告暴動，係令到香港人好驚訝㗎。
In Hong Kong, it is spreading into the international world, where this communist tactic of silencing people with fear and also with money.
共產黨佢哋呢種咧要人收聲嘅手法，唔單止喺香港用緊啊。
There have been incidents in Australia
喺澳洲啦
government institutions they have
澳洲嘅政府
away from me and other Chinese artists for
佢哋一啲嘅機構咧
being associated with us
都試圖咧同我哋咧保持一啲嘅距離，包括我自己。
have been banned from a gay pride. Because of security concerns, so they say, and so the fact that is the communist government
嘅平權人士咧，係被拒參加同性戀嘅運動。
Brands and businesses they would be adding this sort of suppression onto their employees and other people, and then everyone. 而中國政府影響佢哋呢種咧要人收聲嘅。嘅措施咧係超過咗香港㗎啦，已經。That is why this movement has been largely anonymous, because we know that for a fact.
點解而家成個運動大家都係唔露面呢？因為我露咗面嘅話，我哋會俾人捉㗎啦，就會被認為咧係一個非法嘅集會。
I would like to supplement what
我想咧再提多一啲嘅補充。而呢一個好有問題嘅法律啊，聯合國嘅人權委員會咧係講到香港嘅公安條例，香港嘅警隊係用呢個公安條例咧去指控和平嘅示威者，乜意味住咧？香港律政司佢哋對於示威者嚟講咧，公安條例係用喺佢哋身上㗎。同時咧，示威者係唔擁有假定無罪。因此，國際社會係需要留意香港嘅公安條例嘅。我有一個親身嘅經驗。一個小朋友咧喺與警察嘅糾紛裏邊咧係被捉咗。當呢個小朋友被捉嘅時候，佢馬上問呢個警察：我可唔可以打電話俾我嘅律師咧？但係呢個警員就話：可以啊。當然唔得啦，因為我要虐待你啊，我要令到你受到痛苦。嗱，呢個警察咧仲係咁講，佢對一個小朋友咁講，小朋友咧18歲都唔夠㗎。所以點解香港咁多人咧對警隊係相當之嘅失望，同埋感到沮喪
？The prosecutions is related to not only the imposition of the public order, but ordinance. It has to be an unlawful assembly. So the way in which the notice of no objection process contributes to that, that's the tool.
仲包括咗咧對合法嘅集會咧，都被視為咧就係唔合法。
Where they have to have the police deny the application for a notice of no objection, for a file for a group for a peaceful
會嘅申請啦。而呢啲嘅集會本身咧就係要抗議警方嘅暴行㗎，而警方咧就係拒絕咗佢哋嘅申請。
So that's really important that through this kind of misuse of that process, they are really violating international standards of peaceful assembly by imposing this kind of unduly restrictive administrative procedure. The police under this procedure then can act rampantly as both enforcement, prosecutor, because they're naming this, saying this is a riot. But a riot is a legal process. It's for the court to look at the evidence. It's for the court to see if this person engaged in illegal behavior and violent, etc. So right now, the police are acting as enforcement, prosecution, and executioner of orders. And that is part of the problem with looking at when we talk about and on top of that, we have politicized decision-making by the prosecution. This was also noted by independent UN experts maybe 2 years ago, saying that they were concerned about a potential pattern of politicized decisions that were being made and who to prosecute and who to pursue.
There is an issue regarding whether or not Hong Kongers can get a fair trial.
我想問呢，就係關係到香港人呢能唔能夠得到一個公正嘅審判？因為中央政府呢就係對香港呢就發動咗輿論啦，好多輿論嘅攻勢。而好多嘅主流嘅媒體呢，都係引用咗呢啲嘅宣傳嘅口徑。而中國嘅政權呢，佢哋將抗爭者呢形容為係暴徒啦，同埋極端分子。
Not only in the charges that they decide to lay against a protester, but also the sentences that they're trying to get after people. The pro-Beijing United Front movement in Hong Kong
你見到啦，喺香港嘅親中嘅統一戰線啦。
That have been too lenient with protesters, and this goes back a number of years. They derogatorily refer to them as yellow judges, referring to the yellow ribbons from the Umbrella Revolution. There's been threats made by pro-Beijing people towards the judiciary in general that have gone unprosecuted. So this is a real issue. Also, because of the 2016 Oathgate intervention by the National People's Congress, there's an expectation that Hong Kong judges have to uphold the national security of the Communist Party. So if you render a decision that's inconsistent with that national security expectation, you may be vulnerable to disqualification. Now this has not happened, but this is a logic that is being used to disqualify candidates at the district council, the legislative council elections, and so forth. Regarding the police, touching on Sharon's comments earlier, the Hong Kong police also went to Xinjiang as observers to learn on how they handled quote-unquote mass incidents. And there's very little visibility on that. We know that the PLA in Hong Kong, there was some interaction with them. The Hong Kong PLA garrison commander observed some of their passing out their parades and so forth like that. But one of the most dangerous and I think terrifying things for most Hong Kongers is that the Hong Kong police now act without wearing uniforms, without any type of identification.
香港嘅警隊咧喺佢嘅制服上面咧係冇清楚嘅標示㗎，冇正式嘅標示。你唔知道佢係咪一個正式嘅警員咧？係咪一個黑社會咧？係咪嚟自中國大陸咧？呢個主要嘅問題嚟㗎。
As their concept of rule of law or rule by law. And so the support, basically the Hong Kong police have been given carte blanche to do whatever they want. And as Carrie Lam said before, the Hong Kong police are seen as the last line.
林鄭月娥話咧，警隊係香港嘅最後嘅防線。
Policing issue is a major problem in Hong Kong.
不過呢個係正係一個咧越嚟越引發人擔心嘅問題啦。
Senator King.
Mr. Chairman, Representative McAdams was here long before I arrived, so I'll defer to him.
Mr. McMahon, yeah.
Go ahead.
參議員傾嘅提問。
Senator. Today marks a significant day in United States history. It was 232 years ago on this very day that our forefathers signed the United States Constitution.
今日咧係美國個特別日子啦，230年前嘅今日咧，美國嘅美國咧建立咗我哋嘅憲法啦。
Your testimonies and as you share in this struggle, this global struggle of humanity for freedom and independence. So that Constitution signed 232 years ago today created a federal system, one with a Senate and a House.
230年之前咧，香港咧就建立咗一個參眾兩院嘅制度。
It created three branches of government, an executive
創立
branch,
咗咧就
a legislative branch, and a judicial
行政、
branch.
立法同埋司法嘅三權分立。
Of that system is our two political parties that oftentimes also struggle for our ideas to move forward. It created a system of a federal system with now 50 states that also there's a healthy tension, sometimes unhealthy, but there's a tension between that system as we struggle to move forward ideas and the rule of law. One thing that I think is important to note, though, is that we all stand together. This is a legislative and executive branch that we stand together, Republicans and Democrats, in support of the struggle for human rights, for the rule of law, and for freedom for Hong Kong.
喺自由 香港嘅自
I
由
would echo the
嘅問題
sentiments that
上
have
面
been
咧，
expressed
係
earlier
站喺
that
同一陣線嘅。
we cannot have it both ways. We cannot have a rule of law and human rights and the struggle for freedom with the actions that we see that are undermining the very
我哋唔可能去講到香港而家咧佢有自治，但係同樣見到咧香港人咧正喺度受苦。
What we have seen play out over the last 6 months, and forecasting into the future some of the efforts to undermine the sanctuaries of democracy and human rights that we see right now. So some of those sanctuaries and foundations of freedom, as we've seen in the United States and we also see in Hong Kong, the freedom of democracy and government through elections, the freedom of academia and for ideas to thrive in an academic system, the economic freedom for individuals and economic competition, and rule of law where every individual is treated fairly and equally under the law, and human rights are protected. So my concern, what I'd love for you to comment on, is where we go from here.
我關心嘅問題係跟住落嚟我哋可以點行呢？
on the horizon. So I'd like you to comment on Mr. Wong, and let me commend all of you who are examples and the founders of freedom, whose names I hope will be remembered 232 years from now in the struggle for freedom in Hong Kong. But Mr. Wong, Ms. Ho, Mr. Chung, and Ms. Hom, for your efforts and struggles for Hong Kong. I'd love for you to comment on, first of all, Mr. Wong, the struggle in
第一黃之鋒，我想你
for individuals to step forward.
分享
over the last several years, the government has, as you referenced, has repeatedly rejected the nomination of candidates running for political office
香港政府咧係多次咧拒絕咗
affiliated with self-determination. What challenges does
自決派嘅
that
參
pose
選
today and going forward
對於你哋嚟
for individuals who
講
are willing to put themselves
造成
in
乜嘢
the
嘅
name
危險呢？
forward? Taking that same look at the foundations of freedom of thought to academia, what support our
就學術自由嚟講
academic institutions give to students as they raise their voices in support of intellectual freedom.
學校咧俾予學生嘅支持有幾多咧？等到佢哋可以暢所欲言。
Economy and free economy as businesses. Miss Ho, I believe, as you spoke about some of the concerns with Cathay Pacific and efforts that undermine individuality and freedom of thought of in the marketplace of ideas and in the workplace. What is happening in these respective spheres and foundations of democracy, and how can we best
香港而家嘅民主嘅基石、自由嘅基石，仲喺邊度？
So just let me explain what's on the mind of the young generation.
等我試下嘗試咧解釋咧喺年輕人腦裏邊咧諗緊乜嘢㗎。
Lots of youngsters, no matter they uphold different kind of political belief,
好多年輕人咧，無論佢哋個腦係諗緊啲乜嘢，支持咩嘅信念，佢都希望佢哋嘅聲音咧能夠被聽到。除咗上街之外，
It's also significant for us for push forward political system
同樣重要嘅係呢，我哋希望能夠透過選舉制度嘅改變呢，帶嚟改變。
I'm considering to run for office, and I will make the formal announcement on late of September or early October.
就算呢，儘管我係想參選，但係北京呢係唔希望成個年輕嘅世代呢進入民主嘅制度。北京呢係要成個世代嘅年輕人呢成為異見人士。我哋呢啲嘅千禧代呢係。
Hong Kong is not only suffering from the political crisis, we are also suffering from the humanitarian crisis.
所以我要講嘅係香港係正係處於兩種嘅痛苦之中，人道嘅危機啦。
Experienced by young lady arrested, or how injured protester would be pulled down from the ambulance by riot police directly, or how arrested
我哋見到受傷嘅示威者咧係俾警察咧從救護車裏邊拉咗落嚟。
or even seek for any kind of medical treatment. I think this kind
同時咧被佢咧進行醫療嘅救治。我希望我呢個世代嘅人呢，比我更加年輕嘅嗰啲都能夠加入呢個制度。喺呢一個咧向上爬山嘅競爭裏邊呢，能夠繼續能夠維持香港㗎。
I'll go. So yes, on the cultural side,
喺文化方面，何韻詩嘅回答。思想嘅自由。
It has been 90% of it probably has been eroded.
9%咧，90% 係已經咧係被磨滅緊。
Show business has been is in the control of
而影藝行業咧，
me along with
用我自己啊。
just a very small handful of
唔止一個小小嘅藝人啦，歌手為呢個運動發聲。好多人呢都係被要求啊，或者係受到壓力咧，要支持香港嘅政府同埋警察。
support to the Chinese government, or else they would be prosecuted, censored like people like us. So businesses, of course, they have been pressured also into obstructing these freedoms of Hong Kongers, namely MTR, our subway system. They have closed down stations in times of protest. Therefore, making it very easy for the police to arrest people and also leave the sites. And that was a result of, I believe it was an article that was in the People's Daily, the state newspaper. Where they have named the MTR corporation helping the people. So I do think that in a free society, these businesses and corporations, they do have a obligation, a social responsibility to keep up this kind of integrity, to at least to safeguard our freedoms, which they have failed to do so. Like right now, we do not have much solutions to these problems.
但係而家我哋真係冇乜嘢辦法可以解決呢個嘅困局啦。
Protesting, these businesses, they are exercising their suppression onto their people. So we hope that this Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act,
我哋希望呢個咧香港人權嘅民主法案可以制裁香港嘅官員，同樣咧可以制裁咧呢啲嘅公司，延伸到制裁呢啲公司。
Be monitoring the businesses and also, of course, the government institutions.
可以睇住香港。
From the academic perspective, I believe we still
喺學界嘅層面
we need to have a correct understanding on China first.
我需要咧就清楚明白中國大陸係點樣嘅。
Fukuyama famously
福山博士呢，佢曾經嗰個好出名嘅文章咧，講到歷史終結裏面咁講啦，咁所有嘅極權主義都會咧就到個終結，不過顯然唔係咁樣啦。
Still using the mindset of the old times that we should continue the engagement policy towards China. We should abandon the engagement policy and try to use a more
我哋需要咧放棄對中國嘅所謂嘅接觸嘅政策。
Because in the campus, we know that Chinese government they try to establish a lot of Confucius Institute.
我哋見到中國政府要建立呢個孔子學院。
Confucius Institute, they are creating propaganda.
孔子學院係建立一啲洗腦式嘅宣傳咧。
This is not reasonable. Canada government last year they started to shut down some of the
加拿大政府去年開始咧就關閉一啲嘅孔子學院。我相信呢一個係全球嘅抗爭嚟嘅。言論嘅自由啦，學術嘅自由啦，校園裏邊嘅自由啦。
And when many Hong Kong people over the past few months they support the movement in Hong Kong, and they have organized a lot of rallies across the globe in Australia.
見到香港人咧喺全球，包括喺英國啦同埋澳洲啦，過呢幾個月有好多嘅組織嘅活動。
They are being followed. Their home address are being posted on those social medias, and that's why we need all the few countries, including US.
不過佢哋嘅地址咧，佢哋嘅私人信息咧就係被公開咗。我哋希望美國咧能夠支持香港呢次嘅抗爭。
I think the question that all of this also is related to is China's clear exercise of soft, hard, and sharp power.
而家我想講嘅睇到係中國咧運用呢個嘅軟實力同埋硬實力嘅集體嘅運用。
Chinese students from the mainland. And also students elsewhere. I think Joshua saw recently close up
美國咧有30萬嘅中國大陸留學生。
What the actions of the students are. I'm not
佢哋呢啲留學生嘅行為係點樣呢？我冇一個好簡單嘅答案。
Must be thinking about how do we, and I use it for lack of a better word, engage the fact that we're welcoming students into US institutions.
我哋歡迎咧大陸學生嚟到美國。我喺紐約大學咧就係教人權㗎。
我
哋見到學生咧，佢唔嚟上我啲課，因為佢哋擔心上咗我啲課咧。我呢個老師佢係中國人權嘅。咁儘管就算近排有啲大陸嘅留學生咧嚟旁聽。
So we do have them protesting, but we also have to recognize they are all under surveillance with families back home.
我哋必須要了解咧，呢啲大陸留學生咧，佢哋嘅家人咧喺國內係受到監控㗎。
And in particular, as the Protect Hong Kong Act moves forward in
呢個保護香港嘅法案進入咗一個立法嘅程序啦。
Not only will the denial of export licenses really address the
其實
issue,
唔單止係要審視香港、美國對香港嘅管制物品嘅出口嘅規例，即係究竟乜嘢係致命同埋非致命嘅武器。而中國咧每2年展示一次嘅警隊嘅控制展覽裏邊。
And they sell and they have thousands of exhibitors from all over the world and companies. And in the past, we have been monitoring many U.S. companies.
我哋見到數以千計嘅參展商參加，咁當中包括咗美國嘅參展商。
Are we singing? Okay, not yet, right? Okay, not yet, not singing yet. But they've also reported on the millions of dollars of contracts that they were able to secure in Beijing. So I think one thought might be to, aside from or in addition to export licenses, what about technology transfers? What about collaboration? What about them training the Chinese partner companies? What are the other things that need to be in place so that, because China has been named an economic competitor for the U.S., it's not an even playing field. They're an economic competitor where the SOEs are dominating the economy. You are not investing in all the US companies, but China is investing in all the key industries, and that is technology, AI, the military sector, financial services, and then the ICT sector, which is completely state-owned enterprise in terms of the key ICTs. So I want to ask one final thought for what can be done going forward. Next year on the Human Rights Council, at the end of this year, China rotates off, and according to the rules, can't come back on in 2020. I think that is the year in which the US government, I know you have left the council for various analyses of its effectiveness, but that does not take away the fact that the US is still viewed as a leading player among all the member states in the council. You can exercise your role as an observer. You can also exercise your very influential role in working with other democratic governments to issue joint statements, joint initiatives, and joint. So I think 2020 is particularly important, and in particular, that is the year to push, because you're also on the NGO committee of ECOSOC. That is the year to support and push for the reforms that are needed to allow independent civil society groups to be able to participate. As you know, my organization had applied for ECOSOC status, and over the last 30 years, and both times you can't make it out of the NGO committee because China just looks at us and goes, and that's it. It's end of story. So I think it's very important that the US can raise the issues, not only as an observer in Human Rights Council, but in the General Assembly. And I know you're quite active on the 3rd and 5th committees. That's where I think it's really important to exercise leadership. 2020 is the year you can push, because China will be there with its client states and threatening everybody else to support them while they're not there. But the point is, they won't have a vote. So I think it's a good year to get some traction.
I'll just make a couple quick comments. One is U.S. has law enforcement cooperation with the Hong Kong police, and this may need to be reconsidered or looked at more strongly in the future. Second, basically as far as companies go in Hong Kong, there's a one country, two systems apartheid-like system where patriotic companies are privileged over other companies. If you happen to be a pro-democracy supporter, you're at the bottom, if not an enemy. Regarding Hong Kong universities, if I remember my count correctly, there's 7 public ones. They're all funded by the SAR government. So this puts on pressure on the type of academic agendas, research interests, and so forth like this. And there are real problems if you're considered a sensitive personality, such as Benny Tai, or if you're researching sensitive issues that may or may not be clearly evident. There's also a lot of things that happens on Hong Kong related to academic and other freedoms that are above the water and below the water line. One of them is, one of the things that the Hong Kong police are doing right now are ID checks writ large. So even if you're not arrested, your name is being recorded and associated as being at a protest site. Now this may come down later on in some hiring decision, some vetting process by state-owned enterprises or other patriotic Hong Kong companies. Former Chief Executive C.Y. Long discussed such a possibility back, I think it was around 2014 or 2012. And my last comment would be that Chinese state-owned enterprises incorporated in Hong Kong should not be treated as Hong Kong companies. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we have 2 senators here. There's a vote on, and so I'm going to yield to Senator King. But if we could just keep our answers short so they both can get their questions, and I think that would be helpful. Senator King.
Thank you. Ms. Holm, I'm struggling with the fact that we've got an island of democracy in a sea of repression. You've got a country which is now seems to be perfecting the control state. Millions of cameras, facial recognition, repression of the Uyghurs, religion, everything, and yet you've got Hong Kong. You've got 2 societies moving in the opposite direction. Very briefly, what's the solution, or is there one? Where does this end as a practical matter? I
我想問到咧，好實際嘅層面咧，就有乜嘢解決嘅辦法
？800 million mainlanders, whatever that number is. The other piece that I wanted to ask is there any sympathy for the Hong Kongers within the mainland? Is there a nascent, I wouldn't call it a democracy movement, but at least a freedom of expression movement, or is the government in such firm control that's a fantasy?
同咗我問到咧，就喺中國大陸邊嘅香港人咧，佢哋有冇展示到佢哋嘅同理心？其實係我冇答案㗎。我想講嘅係中國呢個嘅警察嘅國家啦。中國係建立咗成個嘅生態嘅系統，透過科技啦，透過法律啦，同埋呢個科技同埋網絡啊，係非常之完整嘅。咁同樣加埋咧呢個嘅自我嘅審查啦，加上呢啲嘅社會控制，大家互相嘅指控，呢個係成個生態系統嘅，相當之嘅複雜。不過有一樣想講嘅就係，因為科技咧，使到唔同嘅持份者佢哋所擁有嘅力量係唔一樣嘅。你見到對於維權律師嘅佢哋嘅鎮壓啦，同埋對佢哋嘅虐待咧，89年嘅時候咧，就算係見到咧，中國政府出動軍隊咧去鎮壓群眾，不過咧見唔到佢哋係唔能夠鎮壓到人㗎。而香港自從1989年之後咧，我可以講係每年啊喺6·4嘅時候，係香港學生、香港嘅記者支持咧中國嘅民主運動。
They must make it safely back because they will tell our story.
Can the Beijing regime tolerate Hong Kong? Isn't Hong Kong?
其實北京政府會唔會即係容忍到香港而家嘅狀況呢？
Half of Hong Kong is a fundamental threat. The part of Hong Kong that can be its golden goose that lays the golden egg.
其實香港係一隻咧能夠生金蛋嘅
free-range farm, and they want that golden goose to absolutely be like keep laying those eggs, but
而北京係想話你能夠生金蛋，你繼續生金蛋啦。
They're trying to keep half of Hong Kong denying a reality of who and what Hong Kong is, because Hong Kongers we have had a history of freedom, and we have had a history of working courts and independence. You can't just wipe it. Sympathy for mainlanders. I know, because I also teach human rights seminars.
國內人對香港嘅呢次嘅同情同埋支持咧。
That mainlanders participate in the demonstrations, and I can tell you, when they participate in the demonstrations in Hong Kong,
國內嘅中國人咧參與香港呢次嘅反修例運動。當佢哋翻到去國內嘅時候，佢哋屋企咧會俾人敲門，話俾人聽，喂，你個仔你個女參加咗香港嘅百萬遊行喎。你要停止佢，你要制止佢。
There are Hong Kongers who support and are inspired by. That's what Beijing is afraid of. They're afraid. That's why they first censored everything, and then suddenly they realize, oh my gosh, we can't censor it. Everybody actually has those illegal VPNs, and they are getting the information. So then they started doing the disinformation, because the the blackout didn't work, so they started the disinformation.
所以你見到咧，將自由嘅信息傳到中國大陸嘅時候咧，大家都有 VPN 都知道香港發生咩事咧。佢哋發現咗呢個資訊控制唔得嘅時候咧，佢哋而家要用一個新嘅手法啦，就係呢個假嘅信息、虛假嘅信息。
Arrested, detained, threatened, intimidated, etc. So notwithstanding the full force of an authoritarian police state.
所以我哋見到咧，有一個全力嘅警察國家係試圖咧要制止香港呢次嘅運動。不過香港人並未怕喎，因為佢哋明白到 國內人明白到咧，如果香港人能夠撐得住嘅話咧，國內人都能夠撐得住㗎。嗱，佢哋都有機會。而香港咧係前線。
It's hard for us to conceive of the courage that it takes. There's no doubt that in this room today is someone reporting to Beijing about each of your testimony.
That's right.
So
please make sure we're stated properly. I don't want any misquotes.
And I want to thank you for your courage.
而我認為咧，今日嘅聽證咧係有人會將佢咧傳遞到北京政府裏邊嘅。
To make it clear to the regime in Beijing that democracy is an important value. And that we're just not going to pay lip service to it. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much, Senator Daines.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank this panel for coming before this commission, providing some perspective and expertise on this important and very timely topic. As many of you know, I spent more than 5 years living in Guangzhou.
你知道咧，我係喺廣州生活過5年。當我咧從事私人企業嘅時候。
Our 2 youngest children were both born in Hong Kong.
我2個小朋友咧都喺香港出世㗎。
With the ongoing erosion of autonomy,
咁對於香港嘅自治嘅自由嘅被磨滅，嗱，我係同香港人企埋一齊㗎。喺過去呢個月，
legislative exchange between the U.S. and 6 LegCo leaders.
我同6個嚟自香港嘅議員呢係有嗰個交流，更加了解到香港嘅情況，更加可以呢就自由咁討論，同埋呢知道香港而家問題點樣。咁作為自由嘅國家，美國啊，以及成個全球係會支持香港嘅自由同埋自治。
I was in Hong Kong on June 30th, 1997, and saw the Union Jack come down for the last time. The Hong Kong central government needs to work with protesters to accept the demands put forward by the citizens of the country, and the use of excessive force by the police must end immediately.
而警方呢個粗暴嘅使用武力咧，係必須要停止。
Our 2 countries. Question, I'll start with Mr. Wong. The protesters have formed a consensus on 5 demands, including withdrawal of the extradition bill and, of course, universal suffrage. Does the government need to comply with all 5 demands immediately?
係咪香港政府需要咧完全答應5大訴求咧？
Hong Kong people fight for free election and universal suffrage
香港人咧就
since 3
為
decades ago,
普
even
選
earlier than I born. All the
嘅奮
5
鬥
demands
呢個努力咧喺我出世之前已經做緊㗎啦。
to the street in the past 3 months, and all those 5 demands are also within the existing constitutional framework.
而我哋嘅5大訴求啊，係喺香港嘅憲制架構裏邊㗎。而北京呢，當時嘅承諾係俾香港人擁有高度嘅自治，讓香港人呢管理香港。
Democracy movement and protests must continue until the day we have democracy.
咁所以我話咧，民主嘅抗爭必須要繼續。
Regime crackdown on Hong Kong human rights. So I would say that now we have continued our summer of discontent and becoming the year of discontent. We just hope the world to understand more how Hong Kong people were in the difficult time in this long-term and uphill battle.
世人都知道香港而家咧所進入嘅困境。 唔好意思，因為跟住我要去投票，我想有一個咧就跟進嘅問題。你認為林鄭月娥應該點樣去回應呢啲嘅5大訴求咧？點樣去讓步咧？
That's an extremely good question. Carrie Lam is a puppet government.
其實呢個好嘅問題嘅，不過林鄭月娥咧係一個傀儡，一個傀儡，由北京
withdraw the bill or not,
欽點嘅，
stopping police brutality or not, or allowing
係唔係撤回呢個條例？係唔係制止香港警察暴力？最後咧都係由北京嘅政權嚟決定嘅。林鄭月娥根本咧都話唔到事。
Especially on how the State Council in Beijing regularly hold the press conference in the
特
past
別
few
係
weeks.
港澳辦啦，國務院嘅港澳辦經常召開呢個記者會。
can't solve the political crisis by her personal capacity.
All right, thank you. I'd love to keep the discussion going longer, but I've got to go down the floor.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And I think Mr. Smith has one additional question.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I do appreciate it. If I could, and Ms. Hong
史密斯議員呢有個問題。
I think it bears a little further scrutiny. One of the notions of there's no such thing as a free lunch, in my opinion, applies with on steroids to the issue of Confucius centers, which are just agents of influence, pushing the
我想講到其中一個因素咧係孔子學院。
I've held a series of hearings on Confucius centers, as well as on
我對呢個孔子學院啊、孔子中心咧嘅迫切性咧，同樣係關心㗎。
mainland China especially, and get an enormous number of perks, money, physical plant venues.
你見到好多嘅金錢啦，
including NYU,
包括紐約大學。
Chancellor of NYU testify at one of my hearings and asked that I could.
嗱，我都會揾紐約大學嘅校長咧嚟作證㗎。
Give a speech or a lecture on human rights in Shanghai at the NYU campus. But the concern is that
嗱，我嘅關心咧就係
en route to 1,000 or something like that globally, that is to say the Chinese government with these Confucius centers. We have 96
中國咧
in the United States.
喺全球嘅1000多間孔子學展、孔子學院。
Private. One of the things that I'm most concerned about, and Rob Portman and I asked for a GAO report on this that finally came out in February of this year, and that is looking at
我係問過美國嘅政府監察部門咧，去提交報告㗎。今年嘅2月呢個報告係提交咗出嚟。 孔子學院呢，佢哋會選擇選擇一啲嘅老師，等佢哋嚟到美國，佢哋嚟做語文嘅教育啦，文化教育啦。咁同時咧，要講緊即係世界觀喎，習近平嘅世界觀，包括咧對香港嘅意見。 咁所以我想知道咧，孔子學院佢對香港而家嘅狀況嘅發展，嗱佢哋點睇嘅？
What are they able to say and do without fear of retaliation, like at the NYU campus in Shanghai, about this great human rights, pro-democracy effort on the part of all of you in Hong Kong?
Start off. Thank you. I think it's important also to note that the
譚競嫦嘅回
Confucius
答。
Institutes and the pushbacks have also been led by really active, wonderful activism by Students for Free Tibet and the Tibetan community supported by the Uyghurs, and I think they've had some really good victories that show you really can push back and get the institutions to be more accountable and reliable. I think the quick answer to what are they saying, it's what can they say will always be under the guideline right now. Under the ideological campaign that's underway, where every single party non-member has to participate in political study.
咁所有咧非黨員都要進入呢個政治嘅學習。
What can be reported in Xinhua, what can be reported in the news, everything will be determined from the top.
乜嘢可以喺新華社裏報導嘅咧？必須係高層去決定㗎。
Under the Cybersecurity Act for the news is defined very broadly to include opinion.
就算喺網絡安全法裏邊咧，佢認為咧新聞都需要管制。
You can't say, blog, think anything except what the line comes down. So when the line comes down in Hong Kong, currently the line is it is a riot backed up by black hands, led by the US.
香港嘅運動嘅定位就係話呢個係一個騷亂，有黑手，損害到中國嘅主權。我哋聽咗好多次啦，講嚟講去，聽嚟聽去都係呢啲。
And so I think that is now the dominant what anyone can say, because if you say anything against that,
不過如果你講一啲同以上嘅論調唔一樣嘅、唔同嘅意見嘅，咁你有危險咯喎，可能會進入就係所謂就係煽動呢個騷亂嘅咯喎。
So I think that's why it is so important that the authoritarian system in the mainland
非常之重要嘅係呢個咧，大陸嘅獨裁制度必須要改變。
Or I think it's still, I think that Hong Kong people, I know I've heard some of my friends and colleagues say to the U.S., please save us. I actually have another angle on that. I think Hong Kong people will save ourselves. I think Hong Kong people will do it.
我個同伴呢，佢講咗話美國政府請你救我哋，不過我聽到香港人話咧，其實我哋會救我哋自己㗎。而家佢講嘅話，其實幫香港就係令到我哋達至我哋目標，我哋所做嘅付出嘅代價可以少啲。我認為呢個委員會及美國政府咧係需要同香港企埋一齊。
So this is like going inside of a black box, but let me speculate. I am pretty sure that all the curricula are approved.
對於孔子學院呢，我相信好肯定啊。佢哋係冇學術自由㗎。睇下佢哋嗰個嘅課程啦。呢啲課程係需要中國政府嘅批准㗎。
Holes in that history, what's happening, and all of the you'll probably read about the diverse ethnic groups.
中國政府裏邊有個大嘅窿㗎。
Happy Tibetans, happy Uyghurs.
佢哋話啦，呢啲西藏人啊、新疆人啊都好開心。你見唔到佢哋咧有不滿㗎，有唔同意主流嘅意見㗎。
Those institutes are also monitored. So if anyone says anything that actually challenges the dominant narrative, I'm pretty sure that
試圖咧喺孔子學院裏邊咧挑戰呢啲所謂嘅官方主導嘅主流嘅論述。
What do you see the word, the enticement to universities? And I think not only just for the Confucius Institutes, they sometimes come along with other really
所以唔單止係孔子學院啊。
Like money for a chair, like money for a program.
佢哋透過就用金錢嘅資助啦，某個嘅
because Senator Daines left, can I say something to him anyway? Yes. Okay, Senator, I'm so sorry, but I really think it's important. As somebody who loves Hong Kong and personally and professionally, and as a member of from the private sector, I think we need to also remember that every single SOE, state-owned enterprise,
無論係嚟自唔同嘅
and now that requirement is extended to to companies with foreign investments and foreign companies. I had a Canadian company ask me, how could that be? Why are they making us establish a party committee? I said, you're not being targeted.
加拿大公司就同我講啦，點有可能呢？佢哋要我喺公司裏面成立黨委，佢要睇我哋嘅管理層係點樣，要我哋嘅管理層呢意識形態係要乾淨㗎。呢個係公開嘅秘密嚟㗎咯喎。你見到中國電信啦，佢哋年報裏邊都有相片顯示佢哋嘅黨內嘅生活。咁所以我認為啊，美國公司
There are listed SOEs. I think Apple Daily reported over 120 that are listed, 100 Chinese companies listed on the Hong Kong Exchange. They all have party committees within their management structure. So I think we need to look at that when you're looking at these other actors. That's for you, Senator Daines.
Well, thank you very much. You've been very patient. You've been here for 2.5 hours. I'm the last person, so you have to bear with me just a little bit more. But this hearing is winding down. First of all, let me thank everybody for being here. Has been, I think, informative and
我認為咧相當之有資訊好豐富，內容好紮實。
To the questions, Congressman Smith earlier on in the hearing referenced kind of the past inactions by the U.S. government in response to
史密斯議員講到咧，過往行政部門嘅不作為啦，或者係即係集中喺商業或者其他嘅領域。
Really things haven't got any better. Things are continue to get worse. And I think it's fair to say that
我認為咧比較公平去講
，the U.S. government has been very good at kind of talking the talk.
美國政府就即係要講嘢係會講㗎。我哋會尊重西藏人啦，行使佢哋嘅宗教自由。
And I think part of what we're trying to do is change that. Just talk in and of itself doesn't end up changing anything. There needs to be a consequence. And so we're trying to move legislation forward that will impose that consequence.
唔能夠達至實質嘅改變，咁我哋要改變我哋嘅做法啦。
It was very clear from everybody here that the Protect Hong Kong Act.
我想讓所有人都聽到咧，去保護香港嘅呢個法案，人權民主法案啦。
In the House and Senate, and I
係會喺參眾兩院裏邊㗎。嗱，我哋會咁做。不過咧就唔係即係呢個聽證會結束之後咧，隔夜就會出現。又經過咗即係相關嘅委員會嘅程序嘅審議啦，然後咧到參議院喺得到咗咧跨黨派嘅支持之後咧，就會出現㗎啦。所以我哋係有一個工作要去做。
Mr. Zhang, you've traveled, and along with some of your colleagues who are behind you, and I want to recognize them as well, have traveled a long way at a very critical time in Hong Kong.
而今次聽證我知道咧，即係除咗出席人士以外，仲有好多人咧係千里迢迢咧嚟到呢度㗎。咁覺得咧係好重要，作為一個歷史嘅記錄。點解國際嘅社會以及美國要支持你哋嘅努力呢？點解呢？我都想各位嘅證人呢係去回應。好老實咁同你講呢，就係我認為當下嘅美國行政部門對香港回應呢係需要更加強而有力㗎。嗱，佢哋應該講啲乜嘢呢？同中國政府打交道嘅時候應該點講呢？Garrett 博士，你先講。唔至於就話可以俾特朗普政府有咩建議呢？我會咁講㗎。美國嘅回應係必須要堅定。如果唔係硬嘅話呢？如果唔係即係左右搖擺嘅話呢？而習近平嘅成個管理層呢係會揾漏洞㗎。強人會咁講嘅喎。唔可以達成協議，對於中國嚟講其實冇乜意義㗎。正如雙普選啦，基本法裏有㗎。所以行政部門呢必須要留意。第二，香港事件呢係太平洋嘅東西兩岸一個新冷戰。
The people here, the witnesses here, the people in this room are looking to save Hong Kong's autonomy, to save the two systems.
呢間屋裏邊人呢，都係希望能夠保留香港嘅自治。
They're looking to weaponize the two systems against the U.S. So this is not just an
而
issue
北京呢
of getting a good trade
係要將兩制變成一種武器啦，嚟對付美國。
Much broader than that. The weaponization of one country, two systems, or the two
一國兩制可以變成武器㗎。
is looking at how China can use
嗱，你咁
Hong
睇啊
Kong's advantages, such as U.S. customs treatment of it.
佢哋講緊香港喺一國兩制之下有咩優勢呢？咁就可以尋找中國、尋找美國出口管制漏洞啦。
Was basically found guilty of state capture the United Nations to promote the Belt and Road Initiative. We've seen it earlier with China getting its first aircraft carrier.
我哋見到早前呢，中國嘅
That was done through a whole
航空母艦啦，喺烏克蘭裏邊呢，就攞過嚟，成個過程呢，就係運咗香港嘅特別嘅地位。嗰時我哋係冇睇得好清楚，咁所以我哋必須要對呢個國營嘅企業呢係要睇得好清楚㗎。咁佢哋背後呢係有共產黨嘅影子喺度，因此要區分呢對國企 同埋一般嘅香港人嘅對待。其實我係好驚咧，就俾特區俾美國行政當局一啲嘅意見㗎。呢個係譚競嫦嘅發言。美國咧係有啲核心嘅價值，呢個就係人權咧同埋民主。而我呢，係想再次強調，香港唔應該能夠成為呢喺談判桌上嘅一個籌碼㗎。而家我哋講緊啊，唔係兩個制度，而家講緊係中國呢去挑戰全世界。係中國要去攻擊同埋去取代國際社會。現行嘅國際秩序就係話咧，我哋唔可以再有納粹嘅統治，唔可以再有呢個集中營。但係如果你將呢個國際秩序咧，就係抌咗落嚟，取而代之咧，以中國嘅模式。It is a dominant world order, and it still exists, and they can't treat it as if we could now change the model. And so I think on no consequences. There needs to be more consequences. 所以必須咧有啲更加多嘅實質嘅效果，要佢哋知道咧，取代咗而家嘅國際制度係需要有效果㗎。而美國係睇住、聽住。Of some high official watching this, but
you're live on C-SPAN.
I'm live on C-SPAN. 係啊，而家咧美國嘅公營廣播機構咧正在直播緊㗎。咁所以我要大聲講香港人加油。
The consequences that we also should keep in mind is the party does want legitimacy.
同樣我哋知道咧，其實呢個共產黨係希望有合法性。
Bullying and force. It can get a long ways with bullying, but it can't stay in power. Without legitimacy，
佢可以透過咧就恐嚇你啦、騷擾你咧，係繼續咧掌權。不過如果佢哋冇合法性嘅時候，佢點樣掌權咧？不過如果美國話我而家我就唔俾你呢個合法性啦。
Thank you, Mr. Zhang.
A quick response to your question is that I think China is getting more wealthy and is getting mighty.
我答案係。中國咧越嚟越即係富有啦。
All the fights with other countries in the free world, China is expanding their military in the South China Sea. They ignore the international judgment and claim that they have the ownership of the South China Sea, which severely threatens the security in the Asia Pacific region.
亞太地區。
They even pick up a fight with Canadian regarding the
咁同時咧，因為華為事件啦，中國大陸咧仲同呢個加拿大咧就即係挑戰加拿大。而家就解釋到啦，而家大陸咧而家係幾咁有呢個嘅決心。
That's why we need the support from the U.S. government. And regarding how China is doing a lot of silence invasion, I use the wording.
講到中國大陸進行一啲咧無聲嘅入侵，特別係講到喺澳大利亞嘅時候，佢哋用緊嘅係經濟嘅霸權啦，同埋孔子學院咧去控制當地嘅社會、本土嘅社會。
Like some East Asian countries and like the country like Sri Lanka, they have to list a military report to China for 99 years. And apparently this is a new imperialism for me, and I believe only
對於我嚟講咧，而家我哋見到嘅係一個新嘅霸權嘅主義。
Also, secondly, I believe why US should be concerned about Hong Kong is that many interests.
點解我認為咧美國要關心到，要認為香港已死咧？
For example, few months ago,
因為幾月之前
there is a US sanction that Hong Kong should not allow
有一個美國嘅制裁
carrying the oil from the Iran。
咁講到咧，就香港政府咧唔能夠俾一艘受到制裁嘅朝鮮嘅油輪咧，就通過。
Apparently, this undermines your interest, and that's why
不
this
過
is one of the most important
香港政府係並冇跟從㗎。嗱，呢個呢係影響到降低咗美國政府嘅影響力。
issuing statement to support Hong Kong。
咁所以我認為呢，美國係要加大呢個聲音咧去支持香港。我認為呢次嘅香港嘅抗爭成功與否最重要咧係年輕人嘅意志是否堅定。以及咧委員會嘅主席同埋副主席咧，你哋嘅長期繼續嘅支持推動呢個香港嘅人權民主法案，因為佢俾香港人希望。俾到希望係能夠令到年輕人呢知道佢哋可以改變呢個世界㗎。如果香港人呢係俾一個密閉嘅空間裏邊呢係被隔離咗，我哋點樣去捍衛我哋嘅普世嘅價值呢？呢個法律之後，我哋見到國際社會咧，或者其他社會咧，都會繼續加入啦。同樣支持我哋呢啲嘅價值。嗱，反對呢個專制嘅社會咧，而專制社會正係破壞緊我哋嘅價值。咁最後黃之鋒，我想講嘅係中國嘅軟實力嘅擴張，去到咗澳洲、一帶一路啦。見到呢，就中國正係攞緊歐洲國家佢哋嘅經濟嘅便宜，而中國進入咗世界貿易組織之後，佢哋未許下咗好多嘅承諾啦，唔包括同美國喺商貿方面嘅承諾。咁所以我想話呢，所謂嘅中國模式其實就係中國向外擴張，喺國際社會對抗民主自由價值嘅一個嘅反抗。我想講香港人呢，企喺最前線呢，係對抗呢個專制社會，而我哋呢，係會抵抗呢個專制社會嘅鎮壓㗎。而我強烈認為而家係美國要通過呢個保護香港嘅法案。對於美國對華嘅外交政策，我認為需要呢將人權係擺前㗎。我仲記得2年之前呢，電視上我見到中國政府咧宣布國家主席咧係冇任期制，咁其實習近平變成咗呢個皇帝啦。喺2047嘅到來，我與在席嘅另一個發言人呢，再經過28年之後，香港繼續可以係我哋屋企，我哋繼續可以享有呢個言論自由。所以我希望呢度嘅議員呢，喺跟住嘅幾年呢，跟住幾十年繼續咧就關注香港嘅事務。多謝各位。
Let me thank the staff of the Commission for all the work that they did in preparing this hearing. Let me thank, again, the panelists. And to our friends from Hong Kong, let me thank you for your courage and commitment. I mean, I think what is prompting action here in the Congress is, your courage that we see unfolding on our television screens and we read about in the newspapers. I have to tell you, I think for everybody here, you have been an inspiration. And as I said at the beginning of the hearing, we're a diverse political group on this commission, but on this issue, we're in solidarity with you. We believe that the future of Hong Kong ought to be determined by the people of Hong Kong, and again, I can't thank you enough for being here. So, thank you, and this hearing is adjourned.
呢場嘅歷史性嘅反送中運動啱啱超過100日嘅時刻呢，美國國會及行政當局中國委員會 CECC 呢就啱啱舉行咗有關香港嘅聽證，審視咗香港呢幾個月嚟局勢嘅發展同埋美國同埋香港嘅未來。而今次聽證會嘅焦點就係討論咗呢一個香港人權與民主法案，即係授權美國總統可以將侵害人權同埋民主嘅香港人嘅人士呢列入黑名單，禁止佢哋入境美國同埋凍結佢哋美國資產。要求香港有足夠嘅自治權，先至俾香港繼續有優惠嘅待遇。而喺今次國會作證嘅呢，有黃之鋒、何韻詩同埋張崑陽，仲有譚競嫦等人嘅，佢哋都分別提到呢，就係話香港而家已經處於一個冇回頭路嘅時刻，同埋白色恐怖呢正係蔓延緊香港。又話呢，面對警暴嘅問題呢，我哋必須要成立獨立調查委員會。又話香港嘅人權同埋自由正係受到侵蝕。一國兩制正係受損，希望呢，即係香港人面對自由嘅作戰嘅時候呢，得到國際社會嘅支持。又話香港嘅作戰係同為所有全球嘅人嘅自由一齊去爭取。佢哋都不約而同呢，呼籲美國國會係通過呢一個香港人權與民主法案。至於眾議員呢，麥高文就話，即係向中國政府作出警告。如果進一步去侵蝕香港嘅自治，就會危害到香港擁有嘅特殊經濟安排。同時呢，就希望國會係盡快禁止美國向香港出口啲警用嘅設備。離中共建國呢，係仲有70週年，11嘅國慶仲有2個星期，同埋香港嘅11月嘅區議會呢，仲有一段嘅時間。香港嘅情況會點樣發展呢？我哋會繼續跟進。歡迎你再次嚟到自由亞洲電台收睇我哋嘅廣東話直播節目，下一次再見。
Well, as I say, I have given a clear undertaking.
RFA Channel 1.